What you are hearing is 100% stock Ableton plugins. No contact, no serum, no nothing. Just pure Ableton goodness. We have pads, we have strings, and we have a nice deep bass. And this is only one rack. What's most important, regardless of on which version of Ableton you are, you have all the needed ingredients there. And if you want to know how to make it, stick with me till the end. So these all three instruments, so pad, strings, bass, it's only one rack with just one synthesizer and just a handful of effects. Today, instead of building an effect or the instrument from scratch, we will be disassembling the one that I made for you. Stick with me till the end because later I'll tell you how to get it. Okay, so let's load this preset on the new MIDI track and then let's turn down the volume slightly because it might be a little bit loud in some settings. Okay, so -4 decibels. So how does it sound like? Let's play some chords. That's nice. Also pretty loud, but that's nice. It's polyphonic, so I can play one note. Add another note, I can play chords. And it sounds super cool. You can go up an octave or 2 octaves to have like a little bit more singing sound. You can go down an octave. That's nice. So now let's have a look what's inside. So we have this little rack. It's actually tiny. What we have here is 6 different presets that I've crafted for you, and also some 8 macros which you can map to your MIDI controller and just have manual control over them if you prefer to do so. If not, of course, you can automate them inside Ableton, which is super simple. But let's go and have a look on some of the presets that I've crafted and created for you. So first will be the voice, which is the most natural kind of pad sound. Like just the standard one, but actually also super intriguing. So then we have a dry cave. It's a bit more open, a little bit more hissing. We can go up an octave. We have some high sparkle, also with some cool shimmering pitches. We have a resonant one. We hear a little bit more of the phaser, we have some resonating frequencies, which can get a little bit dirty. There's a lot of drive on this one. But then we have underground. Let's go down a couple octaves. Really nice bass with a little bit drive that you can hear probably in the background. Super nice. Then we have a vibrating fifth, which adds a little bit of the FM kind of vibration in the background. A little bit unsettling sound. Bit more brave actually, but also super nice. Okay, so what is responsible for all of this sound? We will be, as I mentioned, rebuilding it from scratch, or rather disassembling it to the scratch. So let's open here. What we have here is Deep Metallic Drone preset from the Drift synthesizer. It's a Drift. It's analog, it's polyphonic, and we have this little cool dial which is called Drift. What it does, it actually detunes slightly the oscillator 1 from 2, so to create this analog kind of warmth and feel. It's actually very simple to use, and the most important thing is you can find it in every Ableton Live version, including Ableton Live Lite, Intro, Standard, and Suite. How does it sound on its own? Let's switch off all the effects. Let's switch this off. Let's switch this off. Let's listen to just the drone on the standard setting. Just quite simple. We have just 2 oscillators. Oscillator 1 sounds like this. We have a long attack. We have 2.7 seconds. Decay also long. Release even 8.39 seconds. So that's why when you release the key, it still kind of vanishes. Quite a long time, 8 seconds. Okay, now that was very important. Then what else we have? We have a second oscillator, which is kind of octave higher, sine wave, just to add a little bit more of the neutral sound, which then, if we drive it, gives us really nice, cool harmonics. And we also have a little bit of the noise. Very little bit, you nearly can't hear it, but it is there. And also, oscillator number 1 is slightly changed, so it has a different shape. Normally it would be very delicate, but with this shape dial we can add a little bit of a character to it. You can of course map it to the macro if you want yourself, but I opted for it like that. And also envelope number 2, which in this case is kind of FM modulation. It also does change this shape a little bit, so you see how it's kind of wobbling or vibrating. If we change the ratio or something else, it will be just going very slow. But let's keep it like that. Adds a little bit of the character and a little bit of the bite to the sound. Now also filter is mapped to these macros, so you can't really move it at the moment. But actually, why not? Let's do this. So let's unmap these macros here from the filters. Let's delete that. What else? Let's delete everything. Let's play one by one. Okay. Now we don't have any macros working, so now we can play with the filter. So it's like this frequency. You can of course map it. I've mapped it for you, so you don't need to. And also resonance. Can't be too high. And there's not much else going on. We have the stereo mode, so it kind of widens the sound a little bit. We can go really deep with that effect, but I would not recommend because it may cause some phasing issues, especially in the lower frequencies. Now the drift, let's listen to how it would sound without the drift. Quite static, and let's add a maximum drift. We hear how it kind of floats around. This is very sterile, we don't like it. And we have to find our sweet spot somewhere in between. So basically, that's actually super simple. We have 2 oscillators, a little bit of the noise. We have some things that will change our shape of the oscillator one, so it gets a little bit of the character. Also filter, slightly tamed, not very opened, so we don't get all this harshness here. A little bit of resonance, high pass just to kind of take down all the low frequencies. LFO just to modulate some stuff like a little bit of the filter, and basically that's it. So then, moving on, we have audio rack that has 2 different chains basically. So one chain has something called grain delay. If you have Ableton Live Intro or Standard or Suite, you have this effect included. But if you're working with Ableton Live Lite, you will not have this effect. What you can do instead, you can just put regular reverb, that will work absolutely fine. The only thing you will lose is this kind of pitch shimmer basically, so the shimmer effect. So what does the grain delay do? Let's switch off all the other effects and let's switch this off as well. So grain delay, you can play with the pitch, creates this kind of interesting sound. It's quite wet, so it like doesn't leave too much of the original signal, which is interesting because I've opted on making another chain, and another chain just does that. It lets most of the dry signal come through, but adding a little bit of the reverb and saturation, so it gets a little bit more of a character. Now, we're going back to grain delay here. We also follow it with saturation, so that you get a little bit more of the character, a little bit of the grit, we can hear it now. Then we add phaser flanger, just a tiny bit, we can add more. That gets really interesting. And then at the end, after everything, if we combine these 2 signals together, it sounds really good on their own. But then I added another one, reverb. Oh, I pressed something wrong, let's go back. And this reverb is just adding a little bit more of reverb, as I say. But what's most important is that, especially when you add reverb after saturation, or you can sandwich the saturator between 2 reverbs, it has quite a lot of really cool harmonics in the background. So this one is all about smoothing out the sound a little bit more and making it sound a little bit longer, as all the drones or pads tend to sound. So then let's load this again. Let's delete that and load it again so we can play with all the macros that I've created. Okay, so here are the macros. We can open that so you can see what's happening in the background. Okay, so we have timbre. Let's go with this regular voice. Let's press like 1 note, maybe F. Let's add timbre. It opens the frequency filter, as you can see here. I also add a little bit of the resonance. Yeah. Now, The bottom one will just basically, if we click on here, the bottom, it will add some more bottom. I've kind of mapped it the other way around, so if you go up, it will just add the lower frequencies like that. It's especially useful when you go down an octave on your keyboard. Listen to this. And also if you have the shimmer pitch quite low, that's why it adds all the nice frequencies. It's delicate, but that's what it's all about. Sometimes you don't want any drastic changes. Okay, so the reverb dial is quite self-explanatory. It controls all the dry-wet signal of all the reverbs in the chain. So this reverb that's at the end, and one more reverb here. So let's dial it down. Let's see how it would sound without reverb. There is a little bit. I didn't dial it completely down. It's like 35%, so you get a little bit more of the reverb. Not all of them. This one's like down to 0, but if you add it, you can have really dreamy soundscape and atmosphere. Now we also have a drive knob, which controls one of the saturators here, which is actually this one here. Also dry wet signal. Where we go here. So let's turn it down. And now let's add the drive. You can clearly hear it. Super cool. Phaser, the same wet, dry knob of the phaser. That's quite simple. Then we have the sub effects dial, which changes the kind of volume of this chain here. So the grain delay chain. If we turn it down, it will just be non-existent. Basically, we can't hear the grain delay thing. Let's add a weird frequency here, like 6 semitones. And if we add it, that also creates cool effects, and it gets all the phaser and drive to the signal. So we can dial how much effects do we want. And now the FM frequency dial, it adds quite of interesting FM modulation, but we need to set the shimmer first to any value other than 0. So let's go like plus 12 semitones. So we're gonna have like a high, 1 octave higher shimmer pitch. And if we turn that dial, it creates this little wobble and funny sounds in the back when you move it. Yeah, you hear the wobbling in the back. That's caused by the FM frequency, but the shimmer has to be other than 0. Okay, so these are all the macros that I've created for you. You can of course make a screenshot of that and just program them yourself if you want. These are all the values that I've created, but of course you don't need to program this yourself. I've already made it for you, so you don't have to just go to my website and download this patch for free. Easy as that. And if you want more ready-to-use racks like this one, especially the ones with stock effects, just hit the like button under the video. That tells me to keep building them. But now if you want to be serious about making sounds, one drone, even that versatile as this one, won't be enough. Check out this masterclass on Wavetable on how to build another super cool cinematic drone.